For decades, advanced air defense systems have defined who controls the sky. Now a drone costing a few $1,000s can force defenders to fire a missile worth over $1 million. Send 70 and an entire battery is empty. Cheap drone swarms aren't overpowering modern air defense with superior technology. They're breaking it with economics. No stockpile can survive, and the imbalance is accelerating. A single loitering munition can cost as little as $20,000. The interceptor missile launched to stop it might be priced at $2 million. That gap is not just a budget line, it is a weapon in its own right. RAND analysts describe this as the attacker's break-even game. Send enough cheap drones, and the defender's costs spiral out of control. The math is simple but unforgiving. If a Patriot battery faces 70 drones, the total cost to the attacker is about $1.4 million. The price to intercept them using high-end missiles exceeds $140 million. Even Israel's Iron Dome, with Tamar interceptors at $45,000 each, loses its economic edge after just 2 drones. The cost-exchange ratio, once the foundation of air defense strategy, now favors the side with mass production and low price tags. This is not just an abstract calculation. In recent Middle East conflicts, a single night's barrage forced U.S. and Israeli forces to use up to a quarter of their interceptor stockpile. Replacement rates cannot keep up. THAAD factories produce 6 or 7 missiles a month, while drone assembly lines churn out hundreds of units in the same time. When batteries run dry, critical infrastructure is left exposed. The economic logic behind these attacks is clear. By forcing in defenders to trade million-dollar shots for $1,000 threats, the attacker can bleed an adversary's inventory and budget at will. As one RAND economist put it, the winner is not the side with the best missile, but the one that can afford to keep firing. That shift in arithmetic is reshaping the very doctrine of air defense. Small drones and loitering munitions slip through the cracks of radar coverage, not by accident, but by design. Their radar cross-section, often between 0.01 and 0.1 square meters, puts them at the edge of what most air defense radar can reliably detect. Academic field studies confirm these numbers. A hobbyist quadcopter might register as low as 0.008 square meters, while a Shahed-class loitering munition rarely exceeds 0.08. For modern phased array radars, that means these targets appear only as faint blips, easily lost in ground clutter or mistaken for birds. The challenge grows sharper at low altitude. The physics are unforgiving. A ground-based radar at 10 meters elevation, searching for a drone 30 meters above the ground, faces a geometric horizon of just 20 kilometers. Anything flying lower drops off the radar even sooner, shielded by hills, buildings, or the curvature of the Earth. In practice, this means a swarm can approach undetected until it is almost on top of the target, compressing the defender's reaction time to seconds. But even when drones are detected, there is a hard ceiling to how many can be tracked. Most modern air defense radars can process around 200 simultaneous tracks before their channels saturate. When a swarm exceeds that number, the system must drop or merge tracks, raising the risk of missed threats. Sensor fusion, combining radar with electro-optical or radio frequency detection, can boost identification rates, but introduces its own delays, about a second of extra processing for every fused target. That second matters when drones close the gap at highway speeds. As one MIT radar engineer put it, the bottleneck isn't just the radar, it's the whole data pipeline. When you flood the system with low signature targets, you force it to choose track everything poorly, or track a few things well. The result is a vulnerability rooted not in outdated hardware, but in the fundamental limits of physics, computation, and time. These constraints are now being exploited by attackers who understand that overwhelming the sensors is as effective as overwhelming the interceptors. A modern air defense battery is designed for a finite fight. Most fielded systems, Patriot, S-300, Iron Dome, carry no more than a few dozen ready missiles. Reloads can take from half an hour to over 8 hours, depending on the system and the supply chain. Attackers exploit these limits with deliberate wave tactics. A first wave of cheap drones, launched from multiple directions, forces defenders to expend interceptors at maximum rate. Launch tubes empty quickly, often within minutes, while the next batch of drones is already inbound. As the battery reloads, a second wave probes for gaps, sometimes coming from a new angle or altitude. The third wave, often smaller but more lethal, times its approach to coincide with the defender's lowest magazine depth. This three-wave doctrine has been documented in recent conflicts, with launch intervals measured in seconds and azimuths spread across 180 degrees or more. The result is a geometric problem as much as a logistical one. Radars and launchers must cover all vectors at once, but resources are finite and reloads are slow. In a true saturation attack, defenders are forced to choose: protect one asset or spread fire thin and risk losing both. The system's limits are exposed not by a single overwhelming blow, but by relentless, coordinated pressure from every direction. When a swarm of drones floods the radar, the next battle is fought inside the command computer. Human operators, facing a torrent of incoming tracks, can only process so much before reaction time collapses. That is why modern air defense relies on automated threat ranking algorithms, software that must decide in milliseconds which blip is a decoy and which could cripple a power plant. The US DARPA Command and Control Program measured the impact. After deploying machine learning filters, false engagements dropped by 27%. That means fewer million-dollar missiles wasted on distractions that cost $500. At the same time, artificial intelligence-driven prioritization cut decision cycles by a mid-teens percentage, letting batteries fire faster and more accurately under pressure. But these gains come with their own risks. In high-density attacks, adversaries deliberately mix genuine threats with decoys designed to mimic radar signatures. Even the best algorithms struggle to separate the noise. According to a NATO white paper, keeping a human in the loop adds an average of 1.3 seconds per engagement, a delay that at swarm speeds can let 15% of lethal drones slip through. As one DARPA artificial intelligence lead put it, software can save you from drowning, but it can also freeze when the flood hits hardest. The dilemma is no longer just about hardware or missile count. It is about whether a split-second algorithm can outthink a swarm moving at the speed of software. Directed energy weapons, long promised as the answer to drone saturation, are now being fielded alongside traditional interceptors. Israel's Iron Beam, a fiber laser system rated at 100 to 150 kilowatts, has demonstrated the ability to destroy small drones at ranges of 2 to 3 kilometers. The cost per shot is strikingly low, estimated at under $10 for the electricity required to fire. In theory, this flips the economic equation, letting defenders meet mass threats without draining million-dollar inventories. But the promise comes with hard limits. Laser energy scatters in rain, fog, or heavy dust, cutting effective range by half or more. Field trials report 2 to 3 decibels of power loss per kilometer in moderate humidity and thermal management restricts continuous firing to short bursts. After 30 or 40 engagements, even advanced cooling systems require a pause to prevent overheating. Power supply is another constraint. A mobile iron beam platform demands nearly a megawatt of steady output, tying it to fixed positions with robust generators. These realities mean that lasers alone cannot guarantee coverage against a determined swarm. Instead, militaries are adopting layered defenses, integrating directed energy for the bulk of cheap threats, but relying on kinetic missiles and electronic warfare when conditions degrade. The result is a mixed arsenal, each component covering the gaps left by the others, but none able to fully resolve the cost and capacity challenge on its own. Defense budgets are shifting in response to the new economics of air warfare. In fiscal year 2026, United States budget documents earmarked $150 million for low-cost counter-unmanned aircraft systems programs, a fraction of what is still spent on legacy missile batteries, but a sign of where priorities are moving. The industrial base for drone production is scaling rapidly. Chinese, Iranian, and Eastern European factories now turn out thousands of units each month, while Western missile plants are still measured in dozens. This gap is not just about hardware, but about who can adapt fastest. Procurement lines that once favored a handful of exquisite systems are being forced to accommodate the need for mass, redundancy, and rapid replacement. Doctrine is evolving alongside the spreadsheets. Where Cold War manuals emphasized high kill probabilities and strategic deterrence, new guidance speaks of layered defense, distributed sensors, and the acceptance of some level of attrition. The focus is shifting from protecting every asset at any cost to managing risk across a larger battle space. Quality is no longer the sole metric. Volume, software integration, and production tempo now carry equal weight. Defense ministries are reallocating funds, not just to buy more interceptors, but to invest in automated command systems, rapid reload launchers, and scalable directed energy prototypes. The underlying logic is clear. In this era, the side that can build, adapt, and replenish fastest gains the upper hand. The question is no longer whether to change, but how quickly the old architecture can be reimagined before the next swarm arrives. The front lines of air defense now stretch from assembly lines to algorithms. As nations race to adapt, budgets and code shape outcomes as much as missiles. This is no fleeting challenge. It is a permanent shift in power. The future of security will be engineered, not just defended.